No one's ever asked me that question, and really, really good question.
18 years old, come to the end of your time at school. When school finished, did you go into the business full time? What was your next step after you finished school?
So after school, I really wanted to go into the business full time, but I didn't necessarily feel like I was that experienced at business. So I actually applied. I think it was my grandpa said, "Oh, you should do an apprenticeship." I was like, "All right, I'll follow after you, boss." And then so I signed up to an apprenticeship with Morrison supermarkets, and it was their business management apprenticeship. And I thought, oh, this is brilliant. And I remember I thought business management, suit and tie. So I bought a suit and tie, and I went there for the first day, and I was in a factory in Derby, and I was wearing the suit and tie, and then they're like, I was like, "Where's my office?" And they're like, "No, you're on the line." And so that was my first experience. And so for 4.5 years, I worked for Morrisons in Derby and then in Spalding, and I absolutely loved it. Learned so much. But again, the business is still there. So I'm then managing, and this is when I had this like tagline of like the 7-figure side hustle, because suddenly this is like around COVID time as well. Our business is loungewear. Loungewear is blowing up, and I'm working 12-hour shifts in this factory, learning so much. But meanwhile, my business is really growing, and I'm having to like balance it. And this is when I found it really, really hard.
And how much of that time at Morrisons have you taken then and applied to the business? Again, looking back now with the ability of hindsight, was that 4 years better spent at Morrisons having the business on the side rather than working in the business and actually understanding a broader understanding? Or do you wish you'd gone straight into the business after school and had a 4-year head start potentially on growing?
No one's ever asked me that question, and really, really good question. I think I learned a lot at Morrisons. 3 things that I found is when you work for a big business, it scares you about business because the volume that they're dealing with. HR issues. We never had any HR issues when Tom's Trunks was small. But when you're in a big business, you see this stuff all the time. You're like, oh my goodness, the responsibility on the employer is crazy. So that, in a sense, actually terrified me about employing people, which I think has held the business back slightly. But that being said, I had no idea how to manage people. So I think as the business has scaled, I really respect now a lot of my bosses at Morrisons, how amazing they were at leaders and like the stress that they were dealing with. I think when you're the only accountable person, it's quite easy to run a business. Like if it's at a small scale where you're responsible for everything, you can do it. You can control how many sales you're getting, how much volume. Suddenly you've got a team, the pressure is a lot worse. And I felt like the work that I did at Morrisons, that enabled me to deal with that pressure so much. The time factor though, I don't know. Now looking back on it, I actually think because I had a full-time job, I was able to take a lot more risk.
Yeah.
I remember there was a time when the business needed some investment and I had a full-time salary. So I was like, right, I'm going to put all my salary into the job, into the business. And it paid off. I don't think I'd have been able to do that if I was working full-time. I've only needed to start taking a salary from our business in the last 2 years. So from a financial perspective, it was really worthwhile.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Hard answer is, I think it was the right thing to do. And I learned a lot about dealing with people.